Hello and welcome. In this lecture, I'll be showing you some PHP data type examples. So I've got a simple example here of a string data type. You can tell it's a string data type because it's enclosed in quotes. So inside my PHP code here, I've defined two variables. Variable A, I've set it to a value of hello world, which is a string, and B to value of thank you. And here I'm using the echo statement to print out the value of variable 1, and here I'm setting a break so that it prints the variables on different lines, and here I'm printing out the value of variable B. So let's run that in the web browser. So there you go. So this is an example of a string data type. You can see they're on different line because I've used the break tag here to separate them on separate lines. So anything with a text that's got a quote around it is referred to as a string data type. The computer will read it as a text. And here I've got a sample script here of an integer data type. We've already used it so far in the course. So here I've the same two variables declared. I've changed the value to a number. You can see this is an integer because it's a whole number. And here I'm echoing out the values of the variables, which is displayed here. Value of A is 7, value of B is 6. And here I've got an example statement here to illustrate a floating point data type. So here I've got a variable called A with a value of 17.3, and here I am using this var underscore dump is a function that is used to return the data type and the value of the data type. So you can see here is giving me the data type, which is a float, and is also giving me the value. That's what this function is, var underscore dump, used to return the data type and a value. So if you want to use this on any data type, or if you want to know what the data type is, you can just use this after you've declared the variable. It will then display the data type for you. That's the simple illustration of how to use a Boolean data type. Boolean data type usually used to represent a value that is true or false. In this example, it really hasn't made much sense because I have not got an elaborate statement. Usually you use this type of data type in conditional statements and other type of statement blocks. So you can see here now, by me echoing B, it has returned nothing because B is false. If I echo A, it will give me a return value of, it will give me 1, which is true. So if I change this to A and I try to output that, it will give me 1, okay, but the value of B is false. So that's basically a Boolean value will return either true or false. And here I've got an example of an array data type. An array data type stores multiple values in one single variable. So here I've got a variable here called my cars, and is equals to, I've set that to equals to an array, and inside that array I've got several cars, my dream cars I wish. So I've got Range Rover, Bentley and Porsche, and I'm using this function here, this PHP dump function, to return the data type and the value. So this is what is returned. It's telling me that the array has 3 values inside. And normally when you have an array, the way you reference the values in an array is that the first value is a 0 based index. This is 1 and then this would be 2. So if I was to access this, the index is going to be 0, and the index for Bentley is going to be 1, and the index for the other one for Porsche is going to be 2. So you can see here it tells me the array is 3, the index is 0, data type is string, and it has 11 characters. Yep, that's what that is. And next I've got the Bentley, which is the index is 1, the string is 7, that means the character is 7, so if you count the text, it's 7. And then next we've got the index for this item here called Porsche, this car, and the string is a string data type, and the value is 6, that's the number of characters is 6. All right, so that's what the dump function is quite useful because it gives you a more detailed output of your variable. So that's how an array is used. Here I've got another statement here to illustrate how the object data type works. So an object basically is a data type which stores data and information on how to process that data. So in PHP, an object must be explicitly declared, which is what we've done here. So first we declared a class of the object. So I've declared a class called my car. Notice I've used the class keyword. A class basically is a structure that can contain properties and methods. All right, so I've declared the class called my car, and this is the function for the car, and inside this function here I've got a model which is sports. So here I'm creating the object. So I'm creating the object called range underscore rover, and I'm setting that to a new instance of this class. Okay, so this object here is an instance of this my class, this class here. So I can create so many instances as long as I've got the template class here. So I can come here and create another object called maybe a Porsche and so on. And here I am showing the properties for the object by echoing out the name of the object and using this arrow function here to reference the model. The model here is sports, and you can see here is echoed out the model of the object. So that's how you use an object. This is just a very basic illustration so as not to confuse you too deeply. In the simplest form, this is how an object works. Finally, I'm going to illustrate how the null data type works. So null basically is used to assign an unknown value to a variable. You can also use null to empty the original value of a variable. So here I've created a variable called A. Let me just indent that a little bit so you can see that. All right, so the variable here is called A, and initially I set it to this value called hello world, and here I then changed it by setting it to equals to null. So this null here has emptied the variable of its original value, which is hello world. So now when I run the dump function, it will give me that the data type is null, and you notice it has not returned anything because I changed the value. I've emptied the original content from hello world using this null, which makes it unknown. Hence, it's all this has returned is just the data type and not the value. So that's basically how you use a null data type. So that's it for this lecture. In this lecture, I illustrated some basic examples of PHP data types. Many thanks for watching, and bye for now.